One way to make training sessions more fun is to incorporate different games. And today we're going to talk about mirror skating. I'm Eric Snell, the author of the Fit Businessman book, and mirror skating is a game I like to play in the explosive mode classes that I have for people of different ages. Now, mirror skating is a game that you can play with a bigger group, but also just two people. You basically have a lead person that the rest are trying to mirror. And the movement that you're trying to mirror is the skating movement, where you're jumping from one leg to the other. So the idea is that you have one person in front and the rest of the people are trying to follow in the movements. And to set this up correctly, you have 4 cones, so that when you jump from one leg to the other, like an ice skater, that's the 2 middle cones. And then externally, you have an additional cone on both sides, so that every time you're on the right side, you're on your right foot. And when you're on the left side, you're on your left foot. And the game here is that you don't know in which direction the lead person is going to jump. So both feet will never touch the ground simultaneously. So when you go to the right, you're going to land on your right foot. If you then go to the right again, you're going to continue to jump on the right foot. But if you go back to the left side, on the left side, you're always on your left leg. And this can be done in different ways. I like to use colored cones so that the lead person can just announce, blue, red, yellow, and then people know where to jump. Because right and left can get a little bit confusing when you're standing in opposite directions. Another way to do this is to have different type of commands. You can, say wall, wall, window, trees, bush, whatever happens to be there, so that people know in which direction they're supposed to move. And what I like to do to ensure that people go really down in the skating position, because if the distances aren't that wide, or if the people can decide themselves how wide the distances between the cones are, it might be that they just end up being almost in a standing position. So we want everyone to really go down, bend the knees like a skater would. And the way to make people do it is to use some kind of a coin or something that the person has to pick up from the next to the cone, so that when you jump to the left, you put an object down to pick up something. And this is a good way to also practice a little bit more the balance. So it's not just about pushing and jumping, it's about landing and controlling the body and lowering yourself quite deep, actually, in order to fetch an object. So this is a nice game. You can then switch roles, of course. When someone touches the ground with both feet, they obviously have lost. And then you can, in order to fit more persons next to each other, everyone doesn't necessarily have to have 4 cones. You can, of course, combine, because everyone is going to jump in one direction. There's never going to be a situation where you're jumping in opposite directions that you would actually need 4 cones per person. So this is one of the games that I find that people tend to enjoy, and it's a game that very few play. It's something that came up in the explosive mode classes that we decided to try, and it's been quite successful. I think people like the fact that you have to stay quite long on one foot, and because it's a game, you don't really necessarily notice that time flies, and you actually spend a lot of time on one leg, tensing your body, trying to keep the balance. So if you compare this to, let's say, standing on an unstable surface, and I would just time it and say, okay, everyone stand on the right leg, and we'll take it 30 seconds. Maybe it's the same effect a little bit, but it's so boring. So having games like this makes it a lot more interesting. So you can try this with one of your friends. It's much more fun if more people, of course, but then again, it's a question about fitting everyone in, and everyone has to have a visual of the lead person. So if you don't have the possibility to join Explosive Mode class, try this at home, try it with your friends, and let me know what you think. Or if you have any ideas on how you would like to improve the game, I would love to hear. I'm Eric Snell, the author of the Fit Businessman book, and I'll see you at work.